The Galactic Council chamber was huge. It sat inside a big asteroid floating in space. Thousands of different aliens from across the galaxy met here to make important decisions. Today, something unusual was happening. Ambassador Elena Chen stood up from her seat. She was a tall woman with short black hair and tired eyes. She had fought for human rights in the Council for 15 years. Today would be her last day. 300 years, she said, her voice clear and strong in the quiet room. For 300 years, humans have been part of this council. We have shared our science. We have helped build your stations. We have fought in your wars. Behind her, 20 other humans stood up at the same time. This was not normal. This was not how council meetings worked. The alien representatives began to whisper to each other. Today, Earth has made its decision, Elena continued. We are leaving the Galactic Council. The chamber exploded with noise. Some aliens shouted. Others clicked their claws or flashed colorful patterns on their skin to show shock. A few even left their seats and moved toward the human section. Security robots hovered nearby, their lights blinking yellow in warning. You cannot leave, shouted a tall blue alien with 4 arms. This was Representative Zox from the Uthian Empire. No species has ever left the Council in 12,000 years. Then we will be the first, Elena said calmly. An old alien that looked like a jellyfish floated forward. This was Elder Tavash, one of the oldest members of the Council. His transparent body glowed with soft purple light. Please, humans, Tavash said in a gentle voice. We can discuss this. The new restrictions on human expansion were only temporary. The Council fears how quickly your people build and spread, but we can find a solution. Elena shook her head. For 200 years, you have limited where we can go. For 100 years, you have taken our technology, but kept us out of leadership roles. When we asked to join the Security Council last month, 16 species voted against us. She looked around the room, meeting the eyes, stalks, and sensing organs of different aliens. Humans are tired of being useful but not respected, she said. The human delegation began collecting their things. They unplugged data drives from council computers. They removed small metal pins from their clothes that showed they were council members. A large insect-like alien stepped forward. This was General Katix of the Defense Force. If you leave, you lose our protection. Katix clicked through his translator. The void convergence threatens the rim worlds. Pirates roam the trade routes. You need us. Elena smiled. It was not a happy smile. Perhaps, she said. Or perhaps you need us more than you know. The station's main computer spoke suddenly, its voice coming from hidden speakers. Warning. Human access to council systems is being removed. Some functions may be limited. The lights in the chamber flickered. The air felt suddenly warmer. A small green alien with big eyes ran to a control panel. They're disconnecting their system links too quickly. The life support regulators are mostly human technology. Panic spread through the room. Many council species came from worlds very different from Earth. Some needed special air mixtures. Others needed certain temperatures or gravity levels. Don't worry, Elena said. We left basic systems running. You won't die today. But soon you'll discover how much human hands have built and maintained in this council. The human delegation walked toward the big doors at the end of the chamber. As they reached the exit, a tall alien with silver skin stepped in their way. This was Ambassador Velix of the Axion Collective, one of the oldest and most powerful groups in the galaxy. The Council gave humanity a chance when you were just learning to travel between stars. Velix said, we invited you to join our civilization. This is how you repay that kindness? By abandoning your responsibilities. Elena looked up at the silver alien. You didn't invite us to join as equals. You invited us to join as workers, as problem solvers, as engineers who could fix what you couldn't understand. She stepped around Velix and continued walking. The Earthships are powering up, someone shouted from a monitoring station. All 16 human cruisers are preparing to leave the station. Elder Tavash floated after the humans. Please, the departure protocols require at least 30 days' notice. There are procedures. We filed the paperwork 6 months ago, Elena called back without turning around. Check your archives. We've planned this for a long time. The humans passed through the doorway. The massive doors began to close behind them. Before they shut completely, Elena turned and looked back at the council one last time. "We're not leaving because we want to be alone," she said. "We're leaving because you never treated us as equals. When you're ready for a real partnership, you know where to find us." The doors closed with a heavy sound. In orbit around the council, asteroid, 16 human ships glowed blue as their engines came to life. They moved in perfect formation, turning away from the station where alien representatives were still shouting and arguing. The ships accelerated, then vanished into hyperspace, leaving nothing behind but fading engine trails and a council in chaos. Across the galaxy, on thousands of stations and planets where humans worked, people began packing their things. Engineers removed their tools from alien machines. Doctors closed their medical offices. Traders sold their goods at low prices, eager to leave quickly. The great human departure had begun, and the galaxy was not ready. The Council did not know it yet, but their comfortable universe was about to change forever, to be continued in Part 2. 2 weeks after the humans left, the problem started. The Proxima trading hub was the biggest marketplace in this part of the galaxy. Thousands of ships came here every day to trade goods from many worlds. The station was huge, almost as big as a small moon. Today, it was in trouble. "Warning. Life support systems failing," said the station's computer voice. "Oxygen levels dropping, temperature decreasing." In the main trading hall, aliens of many kinds looked up in fear. Some wore breathing masks, but many did not. The air was getting thin. "What's happening?" asked a furry trader from Bexar. "My children are with me." Station manager Grizz, a large reptile with blue scales, tried to stay calm. "Everyone please move to the emergency shelters. The backup systems will start soon." But the backup systems did not start. In the control room, technicians pressed buttons and pulled levers. Nothing worked. "The systems aren't responding," said Chief Engineer Tolix. "I don't understand. These machines have worked for 100 years. "Who built them?" asked Grizz. Tolix looked up slowly. "Humans. The environmental systems were all designed and maintained by human engineers. They serviced them every 3 months." "When was the last service?" Grizz asked. 2 months ago," Tolix said, "right before they left." Grizz felt cold fear run through his body. "Did they sabotage us?" "I don't think so," said Tolix. "The systems just need special knowledge to maintain. Knowledge we don't have." In the trading hall, people were starting to panic. The air was getting colder. Some species that needed warm temperatures were already shaking. "My ship has room for 20, shouted a captain. "Women and children first." Everywhere, traders ran to their ships. But there weren't enough ships for everyone. Then a voice called out from near the main doors. "I can help," a human woman pushed through the crowd. She wore a simple blue uniform without council badges. "Sarah Chen," she said, "former station engineer. I stayed behind when the others left." The crowd parted to let her through. "Why would you help us?" asked Grizz when she reached the control room. "Your people left the council." Sarah shrugged. "I have friends here, and I don't want anyone to die." She worked quickly, her fingers moving, over control panels that the others didn't understand. "The systems need special codes every 3 months, she explained. "It's a security feature to prevent hacking. The council insisted on it 50 years ago, ironically." After 10 minutes, the lights brightened. Warm air began to flow again. "Fixed," Sarah said. "For now. But you need to learn how these systems work, or this will happen again." Grizz nodded slowly. "How many other stations have these systems?" "All of them," Sarah said. "Every major hub in council space uses human environmental technology." On the council station, the emergency meeting had been going for 3 days. "This is just the beginning," said Admiral Kazatak, a mantis-like alien in charge of defense. "Reports are coming in from across the galaxy. Communication networks failing, medical equipment shutting down, defense systems giving strange readings." Elder Tavash floated in the center of the room. "Did the humans attack us? Did they plant computer viruses?" The archivist Zacathel, an ancient being with 8 eyes and gray skin, spoke slowly. No, they simply left, and now we see how much we depended on them. She opened a holographic display, showing a map of the galaxy. Red dots appeared everywhere, showing problem spots. For 3 centuries, we gave humans the jobs no one else wanted, she said. The hard jobs, the dangerous jobs, the complicated technical work. We kept them off the leadership councils and away from political power, but we let them build our infrastructure. The council members looked at each other with worried eyes. Can we fix these problems ourselves? Asked Representative Velix. Eventually, said Zacathel. But it will take time to learn what the humans know, and time is something we may not have. She touched the map, and it zoomed to the edge of the galaxy. Dark shapes moved there. The Convergence is watching, she said. They have tested our borders for 1,000 years. They will notice our weakness. Admiral Kazatak clicked his mandibles nervously. The defense networks at the border were mostly designed by humans. Without their updates, the room fell silent. On Venus colony in the human solar system, Chief Engineer Raj Patel sipped his coffee and watched the news reports. The Proxima hub had its first failure, he said to his team. Faster than I expected. Did anyone get hurt? Asked his assistant. No. Sarah Chen stayed behind like we planned. She fixed it before anyone was injured. Is this right? Asked a young engineer. Letting them suffer? Raj put down his cup. We're not trying to hurt anyone. We're showing them what they've lost. For too long, the council used us without respecting us. He pointed to a screen showing ships arriving at Earth. Every day, more humans come home from council space. For the first time in centuries, we're united. We're independent. But what about the void? Asked the assistant. If the defense networks fail, we have the Gordian shell now, said Raj. Earth and our colonies are safe. The council didn't believe we could build it. They've underestimated us for the last time. He looked at another screen showing the dark edge of the galaxy. We have a plan, he said. But first, the council needs to understand that humans aren't just their workers anymore. We are their equals. And it's time they treated us that way. Across the galaxy, more systems began to fail. On 100 worlds, people looked up at the stars and wondered what would happen next. Some blamed the humans. Others blamed the council for depending too much on one species. In secret meetings, council leaders began to talk about something they had never considered before, asking the humans to come back, not as workers but as partners. But would it be too late? At the edge of the galaxy, the void was watching, and they had waited a very long time for this chance, to be continued. In Part 3, 1 month after the humans left, the real trouble began. At Outpost Sigma 9 on the edge of council space, Commander Licksaddle stared at his viewing screen with 4 eyes wide in fear. His outpost was the first line of defense against the Void Convergence, a mysterious enemy that lived in the dark spaces between galaxies. Report, he shouted to his crew of lizard-like saurians and floating Medusan officers. 3 void ships approaching, said his second-in-command. Big ones, Licksaddle nodded. Activate defense shields. Prepare all weapons. The crew worked quickly. The shields hummed to life around the small station. Weapon ports opened, revealing laser cannons and plasma throwers. They're in range, said the weapons officer, firing main cannons. Bright beams of energy shot from the station toward the incoming ships. The void ships were black with strange purple lines running across their hulls. They seemed to drink in the light around them. The laser beams hit the first ship directly and went straight through it. Direct hit, shouted the weapons officer. Then he looked confused. But no damage. Impossible, said Licksaddle. Try the plasma weapons. Balls of hot, glowing plasma streaked toward the void ships. They passed through the enemy hulls just like the lasers. Our weapons aren't working, said the second-in-command, her scales turning pale with fear. Licksaddle felt his heart sink. Send an emergency message to Central Command. The defense systems have failed. Sir, the void ships are firing. Dark purple beams struck the station's shields. For a moment, the shields held, glowing blue against the attack. Then they flickered and went out. "Shields failing," shouted an engineer. "The energy patterns, they're different from before. Our defenses weren't designed for this type of attack." Licksettle knew what this meant. The station's defenses, like most military technology, in council space, had been designed by human engineers. The shields and weapons were updated regularly to counter new Void tactics, but the humans were gone. And now the Void had changed its weapons. "Abandon station," Licksettle ordered. "Everyone to escape pods." As his crew ran for the escape pods, Licksettle sent one final message to Council Command. "The Void is coming, and we can't stop them anymore." In the council chamber, Admiral Kuztak delivered the grim news. "Outpost Sigma 9 has fallen," he said, his insect-like mandibles clicking anxiously. "All hands lost except the commander and a few crew who escaped." The council members murmured in fear. "This is just the beginning," Kuztak continued. "The Void. Convergence has attacked 7 outposts in the last week. Our weapons and shields no longer work against them." "How is this possible?" asked Elder Tavash. "Our defenses have held for centuries." The military aide beside Kuztak spoke up. "The defense systems were all human-designed. They updated them, constantly to counter Void tactics. Without those updates, the Void has been studying us," Kuztak said, "learning our patterns. For centuries, the humans kept changing our defenses faster than the Void could adapt. Now that advantage is gone." Representative Velik stood up, his silver skin reflecting the chamber lights. "We must contact the humans immediately, offer them whatever they want to return." "We've tried," said Elder Tavash sadly. "They don't answer our messages." "Actually, that's not quite true," said a small green alien sitting near the back. This was Dr. Melix, head of Council Science. "They answered once. They sent this." He activated a hologram in the center of the room. It showed a simple message. "The Council must learn to stand as equals, not masters. When you are ready, contact us as partners." "Arrogant humans," shouted Representative Zox. "They're letting the galaxy burn because of pride." The archivist Zekathel, who rarely spoke at meetings, slowly rose from her seat. "No. They're teaching us a lesson we refused to learn any other way." She walked to the center of the chamber. "For too long, we treated humans as useful tools rather than equal partners. Now we see the true cost of our arrogance." Admiral Kuztak's communicator beeped loudly. He looked at it and his compound eyes widened. "The Void has broken through the Epsilon sector defenses," he said. 17 worlds are now in danger." Fear spread through the council chamber. The Epsilon sector was not on the rim. It was much closer to the center of council space. "How much time do we have?" asked Velix. "At their current pace," said Kuztak, "the Void could reach major council worlds in 3 months. Meanwhile, in the Sol system, humans were not sitting idle. On Earth's moon, inside a massive underground base, military leaders and scientists watched the Void's advance on big screens. "The situation is developing exactly as we predicted," said General Sarah Chen, sister of Ambassador Elena Chen. "The Void waited until we left, then attacked." Dr. Raj Patel nodded. "The Council's defenses were designed to be maintained by human engineers. Without us, they're falling like dominoes." "And now they're desperate," said President Ekaterina Walsh, leader of the United Earth government. "They've sent 12 messages, in the last day, offering us everything from new colony worlds to seats on the High Council." "Should we respond?" asked Dr. Patel. "Not yet," said the president. "They're offering us gifts, but still treating us like junior partners. We need them to understand this is about equality, not rewards." General Chen pointed to another screen showing a massive construction project in orbit around Jupiter. Thousands of workers in spacesuits moved around a ring-shaped structure bigger than a small moon. "The Gordian shell is almost ready," she said. "Phase 1 activation can begin in 3 days." President Walsh looked at the glowing ring with pride and hope. The Council never believed we could build something like this. They thought we were just good at fixing their machines. "What they never understood," said Dr. Patel, "is that humans are excellent at breaking things too. especially expectations. On Omir, the screens, they watched as more void ships moved deeper into Council space. The darkness was spreading, but humanity had a plan 300 years in the making. Soon the galaxy would understand the true meaning of human ingenuity. And the Void would learn why making humanity angry was the biggest mistake they could have made. To be continued in Part 4. 4 months after the humans left, a small but important ship moved slowly toward the edge of the Sol system. It was the Council diplomatic vessel Starbridge, carrying representatives from several major alien species. The ship stopped at the invisible line that humans called the Gordian Shell, the mysterious defensive barrier now surrounding all human space. No sensors could see through it. No signals could penetrate it. It was as if a piece of the galaxy had been wrapped in an impenetrable bubble. Inside the Starbridge, First Speaker Jelani of the Delphians paced nervously. Her blue skin shimmered, with worry patterns, and her large eyes blinked rapidly. "Will they even answer us?" she asked the others. "We've sent 16 official messages with no response." Beside her, a Trisolaran representative named Zoba extended his 3 eye stalks. "They must. The Void has taken 12 major systems now. Last week they destroyed the Pleiades trading hub. 10 million dead." From the corner, a figure stepped forward. It was unlike the others, a silvery humanoid shape that seemed to flow rather than walk. This was Batal of the Axiom Collective, a species so secretive they almost never left their home systems. "The humans will answer," Batal said, its voice like soft metal chimes. "They're watching us right now." As if responding to these words, the ship's communication system activated. A flat screen on the wall lit up, showing a human woman with short white hair. "This is Luna Base Control," she said. "Identify yourselves and state your purpose." Jelani stepped forward quickly. "I am First Speaker Jelani of the Delphian Worlds. With me are representatives from the Trisolaran Union and the Axiom Collective. We come with full authority from the Galactic Council to negotiate new terms with humanity." The human woman's face showed no emotion. "Transmit your credentials." After a tense 5 minutes, the screen changed. The edge of the Gordian Shell began to shimmer in front of their ship. "Follow the path marked on your navigation system," said the human. "Any deviation will result in immediate defensive action." The Starbridge moved carefully through an opening in the shell. Inside, they saw the Sol system for the first time in months. What they saw amazed them. Massive structures orbited every planet. Around Jupiter, the biggest ring they had ever seen glowed with blue energy. Thousands of ships moved between worlds. Countless stations and habitats filled the space where once had been only a few human colonies. "How did they build so much so quickly?" whispered Zoba. "They didn't just build this after they left," said Batal. "They've been building in secret for decades. The Council never knew." The ship was directed to a large station orbiting Earth's moon. When the delegation stepped off their ship, they expected to meet Ambassador Chen. Instead, they found themselves facing President Ekaterina Walsh herself, the leader of all humanity. "Welcome to Luna Base," she said simply. "You've come a long way." Jelani bowed low. "Thank you for receiving us, President Walsh. The situation is desperate. The Void advances daily. Our defenses fail wherever they attack. We need human help." Walsh nodded. "We've been monitoring the Void's movements. They're following exactly the pattern we predicted." The aliens looked at each other in surprise. "You knew the Void would attack when you left?" asked Zoba, his eye stalks vibrating in shock. "We knew the Council's defenses would fail without human maintenance," Walsh explained. "And we knew the Void had been studying Council defense patterns for centuries, waiting for a weakness." "Then why leave?" asked Jelani, her skin flashing with anger patterns. "Billions of lives are at risk." Walsh's face remained calm. "The Council had 300 years to accept humans as equal partners. For 300 years you took our innovations while keeping us from leadership roles." She gestured to a large table. "Please sit. Let's talk about the future, not the past." As they sat, Walsh activated a hologram above the table. It showed the galaxy with red areas marking void-controlled space. The void isn't just attacking, she said. They're consuming. Each world they take makes them stronger. If they reach the galactic core, they'll be unstoppable. We know this, said Jelani. That's why we're here. The Council offers humanity 5 seats on the High Council, full voting rights, access to all technology archives, 20 new colony worlds. Walsh shook her head. You still don't understand. We're not looking for gifts or special treatment. She touched a control, and a new hologram appeared. It showed a document titled, The Terran Accords. This is our proposal, said Walsh, not for human advancement, but for a completely new galactic structure, one where species are valued for their contributions, not their age or military power. The aliens leaned forward to study the document. Their expressions changed from hope to surprise to shock. This would change everything, said Batal of the Axiom Collective. The systems in place for 12,000 years would be replaced by something better, finished Walsh. Something fair. Jelani looked troubled. The older council species will never agree to this. They would lose too much power. Then they will face the void alone, said Walsh firmly. Humanity will protect itself with the Gordian shell. We have the technology to survive. The delegation fell silent. Finally, Zoba spoke. You aren't just negotiating for better terms, he said slowly. You're using this crisis to force fundamental change. Walsh smiled slightly. The old council system was broken. Sometimes broken things must be completely rebuilt, not just repaired. She stood and walked to a window overlooking Earth. Humanity didn't leave to abandon the galaxy. We left to save it, from the void and from its own outdated traditions. Jelani joined her at the window. Can your Gordian shell really protect against the void? It can do much more than protect, Walsh said. If the Council accepts the Terran Accords, you'll see what humanity can really do when we work as full partners. The delegation departed hours later with the Terran Accords document. As their ship passed back through the Gordian shell, they knew the galaxy stood at a turning point. The Council would have to choose. Change everything they knew or face the darkness alone. To be continued in Part 5. The Council took 2 weeks to discuss the Terran Accords. During those 2 weeks, the Void took 7 more star systems. On Outpost Kappa 12, Commander Elena Sorensen and her crew prepared for their final stand. Kappa 12 was a small military station, protecting the farming world of New Harvest. 1 million civilians lived on the planet below. Void ships approaching, reported Lieutenant Zax, a young Saurian with green scales. 5 large vessels, estimated arrival in 20 minutes. Commander, Sorensen nodded. She was one of the few humans who had chosen to stay with the Council forces after the departure. Her duty to protect innocent lives meant more to her than politics. Send the evacuation order to the planet, she said. All civilians to the underground, shelters. Commander, said her communications officer, we've received orders from Council Command. We are to hold this position at all costs while they prepare defenses closer to the core worlds. Sorensen understood what this meant. They were being sacrificed to buy time. Acknowledged, she said. All crew to battle stations. The stations, weapons powered up. They had tried new targeting systems, new shield frequencies, everything they could think of. But nothing had worked against the Void ship so far. Void fleet now 10 minutes out, reported Lieutenant Zax. Sorensen looked at the faces of her crew. Humans, Saurians, Medusans, all working together despite the breakdown between their governments. She felt proud of them. It has been an honor, serving with all of you, she said simply. The main screen suddenly flickered. A message appeared. Stand by for Gordian Shell Expansion, Phase 2. Activation in progress. What is that? Asked Lieutenant Zax. Before Sorensen could answer, a wave of blue energy appeared at the edge of their sensors. It moved incredibly fast, spreading outward like a ripple in water. Unknown energy signature approaching, reported the science officer. It's coming from human space. The blue wave reached their station in seconds. As it passed over them, All the screens changed. New information appeared. New options in the weapon systems. "New shield configurations, Commander," shouted the weapons officer. "All systems are changing. New targeting protocols are installing themselves." Sorensen stared in amazement. She recognized the programming style. "These are human military upgrades," she whispered. "Top-level technology we never shared with the Council." The blue energy wave continued past them, spreading outward toward the approaching Void ships. "Void fleet now entering visual range," reported Lieutenant Zax. The black ships with their purple energy lines appeared on the main screen. They moved in perfect formation, confident after months of easy victories. "New weapons systems online," said the weapons officer. "Should I fire?" "Wait," said Sorensen. "Let's see what happens when the energy wave reaches them." The blue wave hit the Void ships. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then the purple lines on their hulls began to flicker and fade. "They're losing power," shouted Lieutenant Zax. "Their energy signatures are dropping." "Now," ordered Sorensen, "fire all weapons." The station's lasers and plasma cannons fired with new power and precision. This time, they didn't pass through the Void ships. They hit with devastating effect. 2 ships exploded immediately. A third spun out of control, leaking dark energy. "It's working," cried the weapons officer. "The new targeting systems can see through their cloaking technology." The remaining Void ships tried to turn away, but they moved slowly, as if struggling against an invisible force. "The Gordian shell," Sorensen said with growing understanding. "It doesn't just protect human space. It can expand to disrupt Void technology." Her communication console beeped. A message was coming in from Earth. President Walsh's face appeared on the screen. "Commander Sorensen, good to see you're still at your post." "Madam President," Sorensen replied, surprised. "What's happening? What is this energy wave?" "The Gordian shell was never meant to just wall us off from the galaxy," Walsh explained. "That was only Phase 1. Phase 2 is expansion and protection. We're extending the shell to cover allied worlds." "Allied worlds?" Sorensen asked. "The Council has agreed to the Terran Accords," Walsh said with a small smile. "Not all species yet, but enough. A new galactic cooperative is forming, based on mutual respect rather than age and tradition." On the tactical display, Sorensen watched as the blue wave continued to spread, moving faster than any ship could travel. Wherever it touched, Void. Ships lost power and became vulnerable. "This is happening across the galaxy?" she asked. Walsh nodded. "Everywhere the shell extends, Void technology fails. We've been studying them for centuries, just as they studied us, but we kept our best defenses secret, waiting for the right moment." "You let the Void attack," Sorensen said, suddenly understanding. "You knew the Council wouldn't change unless they faced a threat they couldn't handle alone." "Sometimes the old must fall before the new can rise," Walsh said. "There will be hard feelings. Trust to rebuild. But the galaxy now has a chance for something better than the old Council ever offered." Around Outpost Kappa 12, the remaining Void ships were retreating, limping away from the deadly fire of the station's upgraded weapons. Similar scenes played out across 17 battlefronts as the Gordian shell expanded, bringing human technology to worlds that had feared they were abandoned. On thousands of planets, people looked up to see a faint blue shimmer in the sky as the shell passed overhead. For the first time in months, they felt hope instead of fear. The Void convergence, which had seemed unstoppable, suddenly found itself facing an enemy it couldn't understand or defeat. An enemy it had underestimated for far too long. An enemy called humanity. To be continued in Part 6. 6 months after humanity left the Council, representatives from all spacefaring species gathered on the planet New Harmony. This beautiful world had been built by humans, but was now open to everyone. It had comfortable environments for all types of beings, water zones for aquatic species, low-gravity areas for those from small planets, and special air mixtures for those who needed different gases. The meeting hall was huge, with seats for over 500 representatives. The old council chamber could only hold 200. This was just one of many differences. Ambassador Elena Chen stood at the entrance, greeting arrivals. She had changed in the past 6 months. Her face looked more relaxed, but her eyes held the same determination. "Welcome to New Harmony," she said to each group. "Thank you for coming." The ministerial board of the old council arrived together. Elder Tavash, the ancient jellyfish-like Medusan, floated forward. "This is quite different from our council chamber," he said, looking around. "This is a place for equals," Elena replied. "No high seats, no special areas based on how old your civilization is." Next to Tavash, Representative Velix of the Axiom, Collective nodded slowly. "The void threat forced us to see things differently. Old traditions mean little when facing extinction." Elena smiled. "Change is hard, but sometimes necessary." As the hall filled, Elena noticed groups sitting together that never would have in the old council. The silicon-based Lithosians, who could live inside stars, sat near the gaseous Veil Collective, who existed as clouds of intelligent particles. The microscopic particulate alliance, whose entire civilization could fit in a small box, had a special platform with magnification screens so others could see them. All these species had been looked down upon by the older council members. Now, they sat as equals. President Ekaterina Walsh entered last. The room fell silent as she walked to the central speaking area. Unlike the old council, there was no raised platform, just a simple circle in the center of the room. "Thank you all for coming," Walsh began. "Today marks a new chapter in galactic history." She looked around the room, meeting many different kinds of eyes and sensing organs. 6 months ago, humanity left the Galactic Council. Many thought we were abandoning our responsibilities. The truth was more complex. We weren't running away. We were taking a stand. Walsh touched a control and a large hologram appeared above her. It showed the galaxy with the Gordian shell now extending to cover almost 70% of known space. "The void convergence has been pushed back beyond the galactic rim," Walsh continued. "Thanks to the expanded Gordian shell and the combined efforts of all our forces." Representatives from many worlds nodded in agreement. The void had retreated after suffering massive defeats once the shell expanded. "But today isn't about victory in war," said Walsh. "It's about building something that will prevent future wars. Something better than the old council." She looked toward the former council ministers. "For 12,000 years the council was ruled by the oldest species. Age brought privilege and power. New species, no matter how innovative or numerous, had little voice." Many representatives nodded, especially those from younger civilizations. "Today we formally established the Galactic Cooperative," Walsh announced. "Under the Terran Accords, all species will be represented based on their active contributions to our shared civilization. Technological, cultural, scientific, and humanitarian." The hologram changed to show the new structure. It was not a pyramid, with the oldest at the top. It was a network with connections between all species. "Humans don't want to rule," Walsh said clearly. "We want to work together as equals." The old hierarchy served its purpose for thousands of years, but the galaxy has changed. We face new challenges that require new thinking. From his seat, Elder Tavash floated slightly higher. "Some will say the humans forced this change by leaving, by allowing the void to attack." Walsh nodded. "We knew the void would test council defenses once human engineers were gone. We also knew the council would never accept real change without facing a crisis it couldn't solve alone." She looked directly at Tavash. "We didn't create the problem. We exposed it. The council depended too much on human innovation while giving us too little voice. That was always going to fail eventually." Representative Velix stood up. "The Axiom Collective has existed for 9,000 years. We were among the founders of the council. Yet today we vote to dissolve that ancient body and join this new cooperative." One by one, representatives from other old powerful species stood to add their support. The vote to establish the Galactic Cooperative passed unanimously. As the meeting ended, Ambassador Chen found herself standing next to Admiral Kizatak of the former Council Defense Force. "You humans took a great risk," he said, his insect mandibles clicking softly. "The void could have won. Billions could have died. We monitored every battle," Chen replied. The Gordian shell was ready to deploy the moment any civilian world faced direct attack. We never would have let innocent people die. A dangerous game, Kazatak said, but an effective one. Chen shook her head. Not a game. A necessary change. That couldn't happen any other way. Across the galaxy, the news spread quickly. The old council was gone. A new cooperative had been formed, and the Gordian shell now protected 1,000 worlds, its blue shimmer visible in the night skies of countless planets. Human engineers worked with teams from other species, teaching them technologies long kept from them by council restrictions. Human diplomats helped former enemies find common ground. Human scientists shared discoveries that had been developing in secret for decades. On Earth, people looked up at the stars and felt pride. They had taken a great risk by leaving the council. They had endured months of being called selfish and dangerous. They had watched as the void attacked, knowing they could stop it at any time. But in the end, they had helped create something better than anything that had existed before. A galaxy where innovation mattered more than age, where cooperation replaced hierarchy, and where humans were finally recognized not as useful tools, but as equal partners in a grand, shared future. The end.